Way back when I was little, it was my only goal to make my parents happy, and I always did. I'd get up an hour before they would, I'd go downstairs and I'd take out all the art supplies and I'd make them stuff, so that way when they woke up, I'd have a surprise waiting for them. As a teenager, I started to develop different interests, like going to concerts, collecting records, and riding my unicycle. From the age of 12 to 17, I often found that I was feeling lonely, and my goals shifted to trying to find friends and build a community. I'd often put my interests aside and try to be like other kids in hopes of becoming their friend. I turned to the internet and I started making friends on online chat rooms on an art website called DeviantArt. As the world shifted from film to digital cameras began to become affordable, and I managed to get my hands on my very own with the help of my newspaper delivery route. In the early years, I shot a lot of urban landscapes, macro, and long exposures. I also loved documenting my extreme unicycling, as I called it. As I progressed into young adulthood, I decided photography was what I wanted to do for a living. Though the photography itself was not what I loved, it was the community and being able to apply myself to something I'm familiar with as an extension of anything else I was interested in. It's kind of like my camera was the vehicle I was driving. I felt safe in there, and it could take me places that I never would have been able to go without it. Like college, I enrolled in a photography program that began in 2008. When I began college, I was thankful to have direction and finally live on my own, but my self-esteem was very low. I had very little experience with girls despite never being able to stop thinking about them. I became interested in glamour photography, and at the age of 19, I began photographing pretty girls as an exchange for modeling pictures that they could use in their portfolios. Every time I began to get bored of just shooting the same old thing, I'd start being creative with the lighting, clothing, props, and even just playing around in Photoshop. Being in school, I had access to all the tools I needed to be curious without worrying about being able to afford them. I created a website portfolio full of all the crazy ideas that I was actively producing. Before you knew it, I was getting media passes handed to me to shoot fashion shows and live music for local bands. Some fellow students referred to me as the Portrait King. All of a sudden, I realized I was surrounded by friends, and I wasn't even trying to be the way that they were. I was being myself. At first, when college ended, it felt like I was back where I started. No friends, no gear, and no job. Things felt kind of scary until I remembered, now I know which direction I'm headed, and my self-esteem was much higher. I immediately started working at a factory and saved up all of my money until I could afford the Canon 5D Mark II, the camera that I'd been previously using for the whole year before I graduated. Within the first month of me buying this camera, I did 5 portrait and fashion shoots. I started renting my first photography studio, and I got my first paid gig for what I now considered my business. Within the next 10 years, through photography, I completed over 1,000 photo shoots. I got to spend some one-on-one time with some famous faces. I acquired media passes to shoot up front at 9 different music festivals. Published 1 coffee table photo book that was crowdfunded and had a cast of 20 actors. I taught a course at the art gallery, and I'm currently working on year 8 of the Siobhan calendar. More on that later. Most people know me as someone who loves photography. I see it more like I love life, and photography is the vehicle that I drive from experience to experience. It allows me to provide a service for the incredible people that I encounter and capture the memories to cherish forever. At this stage of my life, it's my goal to live every day to the fullest and enjoy everything that this world has to offer. I happen to have experience in this. I have achieved it thanks to the vehicle that I choose to drive, that is photography. I believe we all have a vehicle that we can drive through life, and it can be anything. For you, it could be bookkeeping, vegetable farming, dirt bike racing, hairstyling, or even YouTubing. What is your vehicle that you drive? I'd love to hear about it. Share it in the comments.